is about 10 to noon on Monday, September 21st, and I thought I would do a weekly reading vlog because this week I'm a little behind so far on my Bookopolis TBR, and I don't know, I feel like maybe to hold myself accountable, I'll just do some filming. Today, I don't know, I'm just feeling kind of crummy, and I feel like maybe this will make me feel better just to kind of like do a vlog of some kind and have some accountability for this week because I'm trying to still keep up with my reading schedule and stuff. The last couple of days were pretty crazy to say the least. Friday night I had to go to my parents because I had to go pick up my wedding dress from the alterations, and it fit amazingly. I'm so happy with how it fits. It's like absolutely perfect, and I'm getting so excited for this wedding. It's coming up in like 40 days now. And now it's kind of just getting all of the other little touches and stuff done. And then Saturday, I was supposed to go with Robert to go and get his tux figured out. And then I also had a hair consultation in the morning for like we're gonna do my hair for the wedding, which that went really well. I did quite a bit of stuff in town, like back in my hometown too. I found a secondhand bookstore that was completely new in like the last month, and so that was really cool. I got to go and support a small business and a local business back in my hometown, which made me feel really good. And then we were supposed to go, like I said, to go get Robert's tux figured out on Saturday, but unfortunately for some reason, the store that we were going to go to, they closed down, and we didn't get a call, we didn't get an email or anything regarding the fact that the store had closed down. Pretty much everything leading up to the wedding now is we just still have to get our marriage license for when we actually get married. We have to order food. I have to rearrange stuff for the flowers for the wedding because basically we're not going to need nearly as many as I had thought we were going to because we're not having very many people at this ceremony. Like, it's not very many at all. Like, I think the most people we're going to have is like anywhere between 35 to 40 people, and that's really just like family and the bridal and groom party. Like, that's it. It's getting exciting though. Like, it's just now I'm just really tired today. I don't feel good. Yesterday I ended up basically doing nothing all day. Like, I literally pretty much laid in bed almost all day watching YouTube videos and reading a little bit here and there, but not really a whole lot. Then I thought it was a good idea to drink essentially 3 glasses of wine. I got this little box of wine from Barefoot that basically the whole thing is like the equivalent of 3 glasses of wine. And I thought it was really a smart idea to drink all of that last night. And I basically had like an emotional meltdown because like I got just super drunk and I was watching something and it made me really sad, and so then like I started crying, and then I couldn't stop crying, and then I went to bed, and then I couldn't sleep because I was so uncomfortable. Like, my back hurt all night. I kept waking up in the middle of the night. I basically had this body pillow that is on the bed that I snuggled with that all night. That was the only way I could sleep, was by holding on to that all night. I couldn't like just lay against it. I couldn't just have it like next to me. I had to hold on to it in order to fall asleep because I could not for some reason sleep regardless of how tired I was. And then this morning, like, I don't feel like I'm necessarily as hungover as I thought I would have been this morning, or as I thought I was when I first got up, but I am just very tired. I don't want to do anything. It is not going to be a very productive day. Okay, so what I'm reading right now, I'm working through Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is one of my Bookopolis picks for the month. I can't remember which one it is though, so I'm going to look it up real quick in my bullet journal. It was my 5th roll, which at the time that I did those rolls, it was to read my most recent purchase, which at that time when I did the rolls at the beginning of the month when I was building my September TBR, this was the most recent book I had purchased. I purchased it, I think, like at the end of August, and this was the one that I was most excited to read out of all those. So I have, though, already gone through one of my extra rolls because I basically read Black Blood and Red Dice pretty much back to back, which I have separate vlogs for those that should maybe be up by the time this video is out. So I have this and then 2 other books that I still have to read for the month. Today I need to get to page 338 of this, which I'm currently on page 75, so it's feasible, but this is pretty much all I'm going to read during the day. during my breaks, and I think between after I finish work and I make dinner, I'm going to read more of this, because I think Robert said something about how he either wants to go into town today to pick up something for his mom that she asked if we could pick up for her, or something. I'm not quite sure. I also have to go to the post office because I have to send my sister and her roommate some crystals that I bought for them on Saturday, because we think that their apartment is maybe haunted, or at least there's a spirit there that we're not sure of what's going on. So I got some crystals for them to put in their windowsills in their bedrooms, because it only seems to be in the upstairs part of their apartment. It doesn't seem to be downstairs, which, like, there's a whole story with that and why I think that there's a spirit there. Anyway, day's been really slow. It's like going on my lunch though right now, so I think I'm gonna go make something to eat, because I think maybe if I eat something I might feel better. But yeah, I also figured, making like a reading vlog for even just, the week would be fine. I feel like a lot of times when I'm in a spot where I'm unproductive, or I feel like I'm in a bit of a reading slump of sorts, reading vlogs usually get me to get back on the horse, because it's in like an accountability thing where, like, if I sit and I do a reading vlog, more often than not, I will get myself back on my reading schedule to show you guys that I'm actually, doing something worthwhile with my channel, kind of thing. And I know I'm like starting to slowly come back over the course of this month, still really only doing things as I personally feel like I want to, and not overwhelming myself by any means by trying to film like every single week. But I'm starting to kind of find a way where I'm starting to come back and feel better. And I think that has a lot to do with just I think my overall mental state. It's starting to kind of be on an upswing with having started therapy, and kind of winding down everything with the wedding, and actually feeling like, things are going to happen the way I want it to, and kind of just in general things are kind of calming down, I think, in a lot of ways. There's still some stuff we have to do, like I said earlier, for the wedding to prepare, but it's all like minuscule stuff that can be done at any point. I'm going to go make some lunch. I'm rambling and I'm getting hungry, so I will talk to you guys once I've made some more progress in Lovely War. I like it so far, but I don't really feel like I have enough of the story through yet to give you like an actual opinion on it. else cares about this. As I'm doing this, I realized, so I've got the first two volumes of Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan here, and the first two volumes of Saga, also by Brian K. Vaughan. Did y'all know that Brian K. Vaughan was apparently like some kind of a producer with the Lost television series? The only reason I know that is because last night I was watching a couple episodes from like season 4 and I saw his name pop up like Brian K. Vaughan, like it is on these graphic novels. Little tidbit of information for those of you that might be fans of Lost and also fans of his graphic novels. We are slowly getting closer and closer to filling this last 9 cube shelf. And then I have just this little 6 cube right here. So hopefully soon I'll read some more books that I might be able to get rid of because this is getting a little crazy. So eventually, actually, while I have you, after doing that, so soon, Robert and I are planning on actually moving pretty much all of my bookshelves and stuff into the bedroom that Ryan has been in, because he is actually going to be moving out here by around the time we get married. So we'll actually now have that room for pretty much my library and like my space, so that this can actually be a dining room, because this was our dining room when we moved in, but because that bedroom was being taken up with Ryan, I needed a space for all my stuff, and because the boys were basically all stashed away in the office, I wanted a space of my own. So this is what I created. I did this pretty much all by myself, decorating it and everything. So the idea basically is that in like the next month, maybe month and a half or so, I can start, moving my stuff into that bedroom where I'm going to have like my bookshelves, maybe my desk. I don't know. It's going to depend on how I plan it all out, because that bedroom is a little small. Like I know for a fact at the very least that the bookshelves, all 1, 2, 3, 4 of them will be able to go in there. But then it's going to be a matter of, am I going to have room for a desk in there? And then I have still these 2 shelves right here. They're like stacked, and then I have my library cart. So I think it should hopefully all be able to fit in there pretty okay. I think I'm going to keep the posters and stuff up here though, just because they kind of add to the dining room, and then we would just take the dining table we have in the shed and bring it inside and clean it up and all that. That's kind of the plan. Probably like not until maybe like November, maybe end of October, depending on when Ryan actually is moved out. We'll get that started, but I'm already kind of planning how I want it laid out. And I think if all goes according to plan, I should be able to get everything I want in there. So that'll make things really nice, because then I actually have a room by myself, and then like I can close the door so that when I like go to film and stuff, I don't feel like I'm having a fight with the noise of the house for the most part. So that'll be really nice, but that'll be an adventure for probably the end of the year, once Robert and I are actually married and we get like a lot of our space back, because it's not really a lot of space, but it's enough, because we're also planning on taking the office, and once Ryan has his computer and stuff out of there, we're going to make that into like an entertainment center area and like a kind of a game movie room kind of thing, because we kind of have it set up where like the living room is like that, but we would like to have an actual like area where like he's got his computer and everything and my work stuff in there, and then like it also has like a new entertainment center, and that's where we have our games and our consoles and stuff, and like that being like a kind of separate, whereas like the living room would be like where we would entertain guests and stuff kind of thing. So that's the plan. That's kind of the whole thing. And then we want to do some redecorating. So that's kind of the idea going in for like the rest of the year, is basically once we get married and get back from our honeymoon and then celebrate Thanksgiving, because that'll be pretty much right after we get back from our honeymoon. We're going to probably spend the rest of the year leading up to Christmas probably redecorating and rearranging stuff. So that's going to be fun. I'm really excited for that, because it's something that we've been wanting to do for a while, but because we have Ryan here, we can't really do it. So that's kind of the plan. So right now, it's going on, I think, 4:30. I just spent like the last probably 20 minutes doing that, doing the bookshelf reorganizing, adding in the new books and stuff. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go sit and read Lovely War for a while. I didn't make too much more progress over the day. The day was really kind of slow, didn't feel very productive, and I genuinely do not want to do chores right now, because I'm tired, and it's gonna take me a while. Plus Robert said he would do the dishes tonight once he got up, which I'm gonna wait for him to get up until like dinner time. But I'm not making dinner because I don't have any clean dishes to cook with. So guess we're gonna have to order food tonight. Darn. Not really a good thing, but you know, it's whatever. It's what's happening because I do not want to cook. I don't even want to clean. I want somebody else to do it for once. So that's what's gonna be. It's Tuesday. It's 7:11 in the evening. I don't know why I'm acting this way. I'm actually like totally fine. Like I don't know, I just started filming and that's how the whole update came out. So today I had a therapy appointment, which went very nicely. Was definitely needed because while today wasn't necessarily bad, I did have a kind of moment today that I was kind of concerned about in terms of how I was feeling. I don't want to go really into it, but basically I talked it through with my therapist, and she was really awesome about helping me through it and understanding what exactly happened and everything. So that was really nice. I haven't read much of Lovely War as of yet. I feel like I know enough about it to like talk about it a little bit, but I'm still like just under 100 pages into it. This basically, it's a really sweet story, but I don't know necessarily how I'm feeling about it because it kind of jumps back and forth a lot, which I kind of wish it didn't, but it's just kind of how the story's going. It's kind of like a story where like it's a story within a story, because the whole thing is you have the goddess Aphrodite, who was caught cheating on her husband Hephaestus with Ares, and in order to try to save herself, she tries to tell Hephaestus this kind of whole story about these two sets of couples from like World War I, and it's placed during World War II, and she basically tells it to help him understand that she is a goddess of love, but she is not someone who gets to have love. And so like her husband Hephaestus didn't apparently pay attention to her very often. He didn't take her into consideration at all. So she's had flings here and there over the course of millennia and what have you, and all these things, basically, you know, just doing what she wanted to do. And the story that she tells centers around like two sets of couples. Like I said, one, there is James and Hazel, who James is a soldier getting ready to head off to the French war front. They're both from like the London area, and Hazel is a piano, like, not prodigy, but she's like a really great pianist, and they meet at this dance and they basically fall in love through the guidance of Aphrodite. Like she's the one that gets them to fall in love, kind of thing. And it's kind of like their relationship with the fact that James is shipped off to France at the war front and Hazel's still back home. And then I haven't really met the other couple as of yet, but I know it involves two other characters. One is named Aubrey, who is a black man. He is a black American soldier. He basically was this musical person. I'm some kind of musician. I don't remember exactly who he was. I think he was also a pianist. Basically, he was in this group that were, you know, a bunch of black people performing. Basically, he gets pulled into the American side of World War I as they're getting ready to ship off soldiers to Europe. I have not met their love interest as of yet, who is this woman named Colette. And I believe, though, based on the synopsis, she's Belgian. and I'm assuming Aubrey meets her at some point while he is over in Europe. But we have not got that far yet because pretty much the majority of the story at this point is going through James and Hazel, but we have got snippets of like Aubrey because Apollo enters into the whole fray at one point, and because he had a huge hand in this story that does involve these 4 people. So it's interesting to say the least, but again, I don't know if I really like all of this jumping around kind of thing. I mean, it's your pretty standard frame tale where, like, you know, you have your big story on the outside that then goes into another story. But I will say that the relationship between James and Hazel is incredibly romantic. Like, I don't know what it is, but from the get-go, when I saw these two starting to come together, I kid you not, like, my heart felt like it grew 4 sizes in my chest. Like, I was swooning over these two. Like, I have no idea why. It's very insta-lovey. I mean, because it's basically started up by a goddess, so that makes complete sense. Like, I can understand that kind of insta-love when it comes to, like, you know, the gods are meddling in people's lives, and so they immediately fall in love with each other kind of thing. But insta-love in general, I'm just kind of like, ugh, not my favorite trope by any means. Yeah, I'm on page 98 right now. We are basically in a spot where we are looking through Hazel's perspective. She, at this point, has just decided that she's going to be a pianist in France for the soldiers to basically bring them some, you know, happiness, basically bring them some kind of joy, considering how dangerous and depressing their whole situation is. So, yeah, I like it. I'm not, like, you know, blown away by it as of yet. I think it's really, like, the whole structure of the story I am not a fan of. But I'm going to be reading some of that tonight because I'm waiting on this vlog to finish rendering so I can edit it. I want to try to get to Night Shift at some point, maybe if not tonight, then tomorrow, because I'm supposed to finish Lovely War tomorrow, and I am only, like, now 100 pages into it, and the book is, like, 400, almost 500 pages. Ugh. Once I finish Lovely War, I'm going to go on to my next read, which is finishing the Aeneid, because I had got through part of the Aeneid in June, I think, during the House Cupathon, and I never finished it, but truthfully, it's one of those stories where, like, once I read some, like, Spark Notes on it, from where I was, I'll be fine. I pretty much have to look up Spark Notes after every story, after every part of it anyway, because I can't understand a goddamn word of what's going on. Like, I can understand certain parts of it, but otherwise I'm just like, huh? That's it for right now. I just finished having dinner, so Robert is out getting his tux fitted and should be heading back here fairly soon, but it's going to take him a while to get home, so I'll probably be hanging out by myself here for the next, like, hour and a half, maybe almost 2 hours. So I guess it's reading time, and then at some point tonight, maybe do a little bit of editing. Okay, so something I forgot to mention about Lovely War that I kind of like is that there is a lot of talking here about Black people and how they are seen in the world. I mean, for instance, like I said, we have Aubrey, who is a Black performer turned soldier, and they basically talk about how in the past, like, in not just America, but in England, there were the type of shows that Black people would typically involved in, or even that white people would use blackface in order to, you know, have some kind of entertainment, comedy kind of thing. I don't, again, want to say the name of those kinds of shows because it involves the N-word and I don't want to use it, but I remember learning about them when I took my African American literature course in college. And what I like about this book does, though, is it talks about Black people in a couple different ways. Like, it talks about them in the entertainment-centered idea where, you know, we'd have white people who'd put on blackface and perform as, like, dopey Black people, basically making them out to be unintelligent and savage-like and all these things, which was pretty common thoughts on Black people at that time, and how it's mentioned in one part of Hazel's chapters where her father sees this happening after a performance that Hazel does when she's younger, and how he kind of gets really irritated by it because this particular blackface performance he thought was really demeaning, and it was awful and insensitive and all these things. And then I just read a piece here in Hazel's chapter when she is getting to the encampment that she's going to be working at, where the volunteers basically tell her that she will not be working in the Black American soldier group. She's going to be performing just for the white people, because they don't believe that the black soldiers will be able to keep themselves gentlemanly around young ladies. And so Hazel gets really kind of put off by that, and she's like, I'm sure they would be just as gentlemanlike as any other person. And there's a couple other characters that are there with her that kind of scoff and are like, yeah, no, you don't know anything. You're only like 18 years old. You haven't seen enough of the world to know how black people are. And the fact that this is even talked about and challenged in this kind of time period, in this historical, like, because this is a historical fiction book with, you know, some gods involved in the entirety of it. It is very rare you will find a story with white-centered characters that discuss things like those kinds of black performers and the white performers who would perform blackface back in like the early 1900s. I believe they went as far as maybe like the 1930s, but I know that they were really popular in like the early 1900s, 1920s era. So it's fascinating to see how that's brought up, and then too how race is talked about within this story, which I think is awesome. Like, you don't see very many historical fiction stories, white-centered characters that talk about that. They don't even talk about some of the more historical points or like context within how race was viewed in that time. So good on Julie Berry for bringing that to light, because I think that that is an area of history that is greatly missed a lot of times in these white-centered stories, is we don't even talk about how different races of people and different groups of people are talked about when you have characters who aren't from those marginalized communities. So, love that. I've only read 30 pages, really, in the last, 45 minutes or so, because I finished editing my video and then I went back to reading. I am so bored with this book. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm in a bit of a reading slump and I just can't enjoy it, or if it's really just boring, but I want to push through with it, but I can't do it today. I'm tired. And I'm bored. I'm not really wowed by anything in this book as of yet. I'm on page 128. And I finally did get to meet the fourth character. But I don't know. I'm not wowed by anything by any means, other than the, incorporation of the history that I was talking about earlier in terms of black people. I think part of it is slow for me, which normally I don't mind slow books, but for some reason, this one I'm kind of not jiving with. So, I don't know. But I know if I DNF it, I'm probably going to have to take a punishment roll for Bookopoly. And I don't want to do that because I only have now 8 days left of the month. So, I don't know. I have no idea if I'm gonna finish this or not. Hey guys, it is going on 9:30, maybe 9:40, I think. I'm not quite sure. Robert just left for work though, so I know it's somewhere usually about 9:30 he leaves for work. I seriously run out of steam. I'm hitting a reading slump. I know it. I feel it. I'm very drained. This week I don't know, it's just been very mentally draining, to be honest, and I think that honestly, Lovely War has put me in such a reading slump because I'm so bored with it. I'm seriously thinking of just DNFing it and, taking the rest of the month off. But, I was really looking forward to, doing a whole month of this readathon where I would just, get everything read. But I think that the closer I get to the wedding, the more tired I become, because there's, not really so much more to do, but it's the fact that, I know that once October 1st hits, it's going to be hell on fucking earth. And that's because we have so much we have to finish getting ready. I have to get the marriage license. I have to, get all this paperwork stuff ready for when we get married, for after we're married. And, having to change my name and get a new social security card and all these things. And we don't really have much else like planning wise to do. We don't have very many bills left. The bills we do have though, like our normal bills, and then we're also like here going to be booking our honeymoon stuff. So there's that to plan. And I think my body and my brain are both kind of in a space where like they just need a break. And because the next month is going to be crazy, I feel like I need to like actually take that break. And I think I've been kind of starting it already because I've been like in such a slumpy reading mood recently. Truthfully, even with Lovely War, I don't even think that just because I'm in this headspace means that like that's why I can't read it. Truthfully, the book is kind of boring. I think because I don't like the idea of there being 4 main characters, I would have much preferred it if the book was centered on the 2 main ones I've already been reading from the majority of the book, which are Hazel and James. Like Colette and Aubrey, I could really do without because they don't even show up until nearly 100 pages into the book. So I find it so boring. Like I while I do like the romance between James and Hazel, it's too quick. I know gods are involved with it and Aphrodite's the one that put them together, but even that felt way too insta-lovey. Like I'm not digging it. I don't want to continue with it. I don't want to finish it. I'm over it. And truthfully, I need to be better about just listening to what my gut tells me. And my gut's telling me right now that with this impending reading slump and the fact that I'm going to be fucking busy as hell here in the next month, I don't got time for books that are going to waste my fucking time. I don't have time for this. I have way more important things to deal with, and I would much rather read something I'm going to enjoy and be excited to go back into than read something I'm not really that interested in and forcing myself to read it just because I had a goal in mind set for it. Like, there's no fucking point. I'm in such a reading slump. I can't even get through my Stephen King read that I started because I just don't have a reason to read, because the only thing is like, because I have this reading goal and Lovely War is what I'm supposed to be reading, it makes me not want to read because that's the only thing I'm telling myself I should read because it's part of my Bookopolis TBR, and I don't even have the energy to want to read Night Shift because I know that I'm supposed to reserve that energy for reading Lovely War. Like, it's a whole fucking process that goes through my head, and I'm tired of it. Like, I actually want to read Stephen King. I actually want to reread Thirst and all these things. And right now I have this TBR set up here that I've had with books on there for fucking months that I never got around to. So truthfully, I'm just fucking done. And I have got a D&D based TBR game that I'm getting ready to start here in a few days that Robert's helping me with, that we're going to start building up. And truth be told, I would much rather put on that TBR books I'm actually feeling like I'm going to read. So like my Thirst books, my Stephen King books. That's basically it. That's all I want to read at this point. I don't want to read anything else right now because I don't got the fucking time for it. Once we get married and get into like November and December, probably more likely December because November is going to be fucking crazy as it is too, with going on our honeymoon and then having Thanksgiving and Black Friday right after. I don't want to waste my fucking time. I think I'm going to step away from doing readathons for a while until at the very least maybe House Cupathon rolls around again. And truth be told, I think my attitude now is coming also from the fact that I've been watching a lot of booktubers recently. More specifically, Princess from Castle Library, which I will leave her link down in the description for you guys. If you do not follow her as of yet, you definitely should because she is amazing. I have very quickly become very good friends with her, at least I think so. I adore her. I think she is hilarious, and I think she is so fucking awesome. I feel like I wouldn't say like I've embodied her personality, but I definitely think that she's rubbing off on me in a lot of ways because her personality is very much, she's a no bullshit kind of person. She is someone who is like, I don't got time for shit if it's not, making me happy, if it's not, doing what I want it to do, if it's not doing something for me, I don't got time for it kind of thing. So love that because that's something I need to do more in my life. I need to be more willing to let things go that are not, actually giving me any kind of joy. And truth be told, my library is getting kind of fucking crazy. I'm thinking that it's going to be very soon where I start going through some of this stuff that I might have already read or, whatever. Like, I can see one book in particular, I'm kind of just thinking I might just unhaul because it was the only book I read in that series, and I am not interested in going back to it. I'm not interested in going back to that series because it's one I have had lost complete interest in, and I just don't think I'm ever going to get around to going back to it. So, already got off to a good start with that. But good morning. Okay, so it's 10:18 in the morning on Friday. So today, what the plan is I do want to get some reading done today. I'm just deciding now, like, I'm just going to read what I want to read. I am hopefully going to be doing a buddy read getting started on Monday with my friend Princess. What I plan on reading this weekend is probably a couple different books. I want to actually finish the Aeneid by Virgil. I started this in June and got through the first 3 parts of it. And thankfully, like, it's one of those books where I could just literally look up the Spark Notes. It's a classic piece of work. So I could look up the Spark Notes and kind of remind myself of what happens in the book to where I could get back into this with no problem. I remember some bits and pieces of it. Basically, it's essentially the Roman version of the Odyssey, if that makes sense. If you know the Odyssey by Homer, I haven't read it in a long time, and I have a copy of the Odyssey, but I never read the Aeneid. But basically what happens is that Aeneas, who is kind of like our Odysseus of this series, he goes through a lot of different adventures. I'm hoping to jump back into this one and getting this one done because this was my random TBR pick for June, I think. And truthfully, like, I had so many books that either I had as random TBRs or, various like prompts for like Bookoplathon or whatever. But truthfully, I'm not in the mood to like stick to that anymore. The only reason I'm going through this one right now is because I had started it and I actually want to finish it. And I'm doing the same with a couple other books. Like, I want to finish the other 2 short stories in the Night of the Seven Kingdoms by George R.R. Martin because I read the first one, haven't got back to the other 2. And like, then from there, I really only want to read right now Night Shift by Stephen King because I have that started. I read the first story in that one and is part of my Stephen King reading series that I actually am invested in. And then I have the reread series for Thirst because this month I was supposed to read Phantom. I don't think I'm going to get through all of those books this weekend, but I do think that I want to get through them by the end of the month, which ends in about 5 days now. is, what time is it? I think it's after 3. Boy, day's gotten away from me. And that's because this morning I didn't get up till about 9:30, almost 10 o'clock, I think. And I got a couple things done around the house, and I actually updated my library spreadsheet that I created shortly after we moved into the house, because I had wanted at that point to have a catalog of like all of the books I have on my physical shelf, my Kindle, and what I had on Audible for audiobooks. And that was all updated at the time, and then over the last few months I hadn't updated it. Like, I think I created it probably in like May, maybe June. I don't quite remember. But since the first time I created that, I have got so many more books. Like, I think I have gotten like probably close to 100 books over the course of the last several months. Went through and did all of that, and I actually ended up culling 10 books from my physical TBR, and I went through my Kindle and got rid of all of the ARCs that I DNF'd, that I had basically started picking up in 2019, and like they're basically all the ones that I tried to read over that year when I was going through a lot of ARCs, and just DNF'd them because I didn't like them or just never got around to them. And so I went through and like cleaned all that up, and so I feel so happy. But that took me like probably like 3.5 hours to do. And the reason I did this is because, for one, I wanted to go through and get rid of a lot of books I never thought I was going to touch again, or even like have any interest in reading. And on top of that, over last weekend, or like a couple weekends ago at the very least, I can't remember when it happened exactly, but I found a used bookstore in my hometown. It's fairly new. They've only been around for now about a month, and I checked them out. I got quite a few books from them for like $40. Like, I think I bought like 12 books worth for $40, and it was really freaking awesome, and they were so, so nice. So I basically wanted to support them by, purchasing books there that I was interested in. And I decided that if I ever ended up, having more books that I wanted to get rid of and didn't know what to do with, I was definitely going to take them in to sell them to that bookstore, because for one, it'll help me get a little bit extra money for maybe the wedding. It supports that bookstore and gives them more copies of books to have. And like I said, they were so freaking nice. They were absolutely wonderful, and they're part of my hometown community, and they're the only bookstore in that town now open, because the other bookstore that isn't really a used bookstore, but it's a really, really small family-owned bookstore that also has a small coffee shop in the front of it. That store went not essentially out of business, but they closed down because of COVID, and because it's a very small area. Like, it's basically like a boutique size bookstore. And then this used bookstore opened up about a month ago, and I think that it's always good to like send, love and support to your local bookstores. And so, because the coffee shop bookstore is not open anymore, I want to find ways to support this used one, especially because it's fairly new. They have a community outreach program through the bookstore, and they will even host anime and manga clubs for the local high school, which is really, really awesome. I love when small businesses like that, take advantage of the fact that they're from a small community, and, find ways to not only promote themselves within the community through things like that, but they also encourage, the communities of kids that are invested in those things, and they want to like promote creative outlooks and creative spaces, kind of thing like that. So it made my heart really happy to go in there when I was there with my mom. I'm willing to bet I'm going to be back there in the next few weeks anyway. So to have all these books ready for me to be like, okay, these are all going to go to the used bookstore so I can get a little bit of cash for them. It might not be much, but it'll be a little bit of something, just to kind of give support to them, with more, books to sell. So then, my reading progress for right now, I have just finished book 4 of the Aeneid. It's fine. I think that what's really tripping me up is just obviously the language. It's hard to like read through. There are particular scenes where I'm like, oh, I know exactly what's happening in this, but the language is still kind of weird because it's old. Like, this is like one of the oldest stories you will ever hear. And thankfully, I've been using SparkNotes. That has been really helpful with understanding what each book goes into. And it's interesting. Like, I didn't realize how much of the story, deals with ideas of like love, loss, grief, and trying to find a purpose in life, because the whole story is like Aeneas, he basically in the beginning of the book has to flee his home because it was in Troy, and Troy got attacked by the Greeks, and so he has to flee for his life. He loses his wife in the process, and then he loses his father at another point. He gets trapped on this island because he falls in love with a woman named Dido, but he realizes like he has a greater purpose in life, which is to go to Italy to essentially like create this big event. Basically, I think that he's supposed to be the start of some new race of people, or he's supposed to like take over Italy and become like a new ruler of sorts, with the fact that he no longer has Troy. One of the big things within this novel is this kind of war between Venus and Juno, who in Greek mythology are Athena and Aphrodite, and basically how Aphrodite, who is the mother of Aeneas, is trying to protect him, trying to get him to a place where he can rule and, you know, he is able to prosper. But Athena's not really like a big fan of Aeneas because he kind of fucked her over in a lot of ways with like destroying her people and basically like she thinks that he's a jackass basically, so she's not really like a big fan of him. I'm actually really tempted though, like as I was reading this today, I was kind of thinking about this idea of like creating a video where like I explain this story in modern terms, like literal modern terms, with like clips from Vines that would really be, you know, useful in kind of like looking at the story in a modern sense for modern readers, because there's so many people who read this and the Odyssey in like high school, and they don't quite understand what the story is. So I feel like a really cool video idea that truthfully, if I don't do it, anybody can do. I think it would be really funny just to see this kind of video idea, is to take classics like the Aeneid or the Odyssey and turn them into like modern retellings of a sort, or like basically creating videos that would explain these books in modern times with like Vines or TikToks or Twitter posts or anything like that, because I think it would be so freaking funny. And truthfully, I know there's a lot of creative people out there who would love to take the time to do this. So if I don't do it, somebody will. But I don't know, that might be a future video idea. Just, you know, just thinking on it. But if somebody else does it before me, more power to them, because they're definitely quicker at it than I am. I decided to watch Say Yes to the Dress on TLC because we have just over 30 days until the wedding, so I'm in peak wedding vibes. Okay guys, it is going on 9:40 in the evening. So today I haven't read much more in the Aeneid since earlier today, because I decided to watch Say Yes to the Dress for a while until Robert and I were eating dinner. Tomorrow, my mom is actually coming up because we are getting a new washer and dryer, and we're going to go order that tomorrow. We're getting a new washer dryer that's going to be actually ours, because the house that we are living in, the washer and dryer came with the house, but they're old, and the dryer is really the big issue because it's basically ruining a lot of our clothes. Like the lining on the inside of the dryer, like there's like the door, there's like the hatch into the dryer. There's a lining that outlines the hatch basically that has completely worn away from usage. It's very old. Like the dryer probably is like going on 20 years old at this point. And that's basically causing a lot of our clothes to get caught in that little space, that little lining area, because there's nothing like protecting it. And so a lot of our clothes have gotten, mine specifically more so than his, but a lot of my clothes have gotten ruined. I've had several like bras get damaged and having like the straps completely like severed because they get caught. Several shirts now have holes in them because they have got caught in that lining and got caught on some kind of hook or something that's ripped into the fabric, and so on and so forth. And then also there is staining on them that we cannot get out because the lining has some kind of like greasy substance on it that is not able to be taken out of the clothing. So I've had to replace many things over the last couple of months because of that dryer. So it's time to get rid of it. And because the washer is about as old, we figured it'd just be better to replace the both of them. Good morning, guys. It is Sunday. It is just after 10 a.m. I've been up for all of like maybe 20 minutes, but I feel much better than I did yesterday. I still have a bit of a lingering like not throbbing, but like I can still feel where like a headache will be coming in, probably like right on the top of my forehead, probably because my hair is tied back, but that's, whatever. It's just what I have to deal with because of allergies. So today, like I said yesterday, I am going to be hanging out with my mom. She should be coming up here soon. She might be almost on her way. I haven't got a text from her yet telling me she's on her way yet, but I figured this morning before she at least gets here, I would drink my cup of coffee and start up with the Aeneid again. I'm on book 5 now as of yesterday. I have not picked it up since I read yesterday because I was not feeling the best at all. But I'm on page 114, and this book kind of is misleading in like the page count because there's a lot of like introduction and notes and stuff at the beginning and the end of the book. So there's only like a couple hundred pages of actual like text, and that's all I'm really counting for it. I'm not counting the introduction. I'm not counting the notes at the very end of the book or the bibliography or anything like that because while I would normally read those, when I started this, I didn't because I was not interested in it. And I think if I was to read this again, I definitely would go back and read those, but they are not really anything I'm interested in at the moment. So my goal is to probably in the next hour get to book 6 because I think that each of these books are probably like 20 pages or so. It's not too long, but the language makes it much more dense and much harder to fly through than anything else because you're trying to like grasp at what the story is telling you based on the language. And then today we're going to get our washer and dryer ordered, which will hopefully get here maybe next weekend, beginning of the week after, something like that. And then I think Mom and I are just going to go shop around a little bit because I miss my mom. I haven't seen her in about 2 weeks, I think, and I miss my mom. Well, I guess I didn't film anything because I kind of forgot and just enjoyed spending time with my mom. So it's whatever. But here is a list of things that we did today. Got the new washer and dryer order. Those will be here on October 10th, which is really exciting. We didn't actually end up getting the ones that we originally wanted because unfortunately the model that they had was not going to possibly come in until probably November, and we could not wait that long. Our dryer is completely shot, so the second one we wanted, like the second best option, is much more readily available. Like basically, like we ordered it today and it will be here not next Saturday, but the Saturday after, which is very exciting. And that means too that I don't have to work that day, so it'll make it a lot easier to get everything sorted and figured out. Then my mom and I decided to go to Michael's and get some wedding decoration stuff, which was very fun. I'm very excited. I finally got all of the stuff I wanted to get for my bridesmaids, which is really exciting. That means that they're all done now with their gifts, and now I just have to arrange the boxes and stuff for them. And I'm really excited because I also today heard from my maid of honor who told me kind of a little bit about what we are going to be doing for the bachelorette party, which is basically going to be doing a little bit of bar hopping in places that might not be super crowded, but we're going to be wearing costumes, and I'm so excited. That's like the one thing that I was going to end up missing out on with Halloween was I was not going to be able to wear a costume. So that makes me so excited because I love Halloween for dressing up and being spoopy and having a good time. So I am so freaking excited. I cannot wait. And it's going to be in like 4 weeks, and I'm so happy. And I get to see my friends again, several of which I haven't seen in many years that I've kept in contact with, but haven't seen physically in a long time. And it's going to be a great time. I'm so excited. But so then after that, after we went to Michael's and I got some wedding decoration stuff and the last little bits and bobs I wanted for my bridesmaids, we went and got some lunch, and then after that we hit up the bookstore where my mom actually bought me a couple books. That she bought me Practical Magic and Rules of Magic, both by Alice Hoffman, which I for some reason have been seeing literally everybody read when I didn't even know that everybody knew Practical Magic, the movie, because if you guys might know, I did my Happy Movies video a couple years ago where I talked about this movie specifically. This is one of my happy movies. This is one of the movies where, especially if I'm in a very much rom-com kind of feel, this is one of the ones I gravitate towards, and it's like one of my favorite Halloween movies because it is all about a family of witches, and I knew that the movie was based off of a book, and my mom had read the book, and both Practical Magic and Rules of Magic, and my mom read both of them and said that the books are very different, but not to the point where like they're so different from the movies that they almost stand by themselves, but she loves what they did with the movie, that it doesn't upset her with what they did differently. And I think that because I love this movie so much too, I'm gonna have the same feelings. But for some reason, everybody is putting Practical Magic on their freaking October TBRs, which surprises the hell out of me because, for one, this book has been around for fucking ages and I've heard nobody talk about it before, and two, how does everybody all of a sudden know what Practical Magic is? Like, that's one of my favorite movies from my childhood, and I thought I was like one of the only people in the world that knew about it. But also I thought that nobody else knew what the Mummy was in this community, and I've been proven wrong so many times because there's so many people who literally thirst over that movie as much as I do. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but for some reason I am. But anyway, I'm really excited because now I have these two books myself. I also saw a lot of other Alice Hoffman books that I really want to get because apparently she writes a lot of historical fiction. So I really want to get my hands on a lot of that stuff in the future. I think I'm going to add them to my wish list now because I know now what they are. I think I had originally added Practical Magic and Rules of Magic onto my wish list recently, but I don't remember if I added any of her other books on there. So if I haven't, I'm going to go do that tomorrow while I work. So then after that, we basically walked around the mall a little bit. My mom and I went to Bath & Body Works, and then we went to a crystal shop that I really like. Well, it's kind of like an import store that has like crystals and sage and incense and stuff that I really like. And then we went over to the Halloween store for a little bit because my mom was looking for basically socks to basically help me replicate the end scene of Practical Magic, which, you know, has a tie in here somewhere. So we're doing a set of pictures where all the girls are wearing these striped socks, and we're gonna do a picture where we all jump off like a step on the back deck of my family home, and it's gonna be really cute, and I'm really excited. And we from there went over to Target for a hot minute, walked around there a little bit, and then basically that was it. We basically came back here. I also got a new set of tarot cards while I was at the import store, which is awesome. I love them so much. They're so cool, and I can't wait to implement them like over the course of time once I learn more about how to use them. So I'm really, really excited. And then yeah, today after that, I basically made dinner. Robert and I watched some shows on like Hulu, and then I took a shower because my hair was super greasy. So since this morning, I haven't read any more of the Aeneid, but I'm going to at least read the next book, which is book 6, which that's basically where I'm going to end this vlog here. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me this week. If you guys did enjoy it and you watched to the end, please do give this video a big thumbs up and leave a comment down below with what you've been reading recently, what's been going on in your world. I would love to hear some other things happening since I don't seem to get out very much, unfortunately. But I would love to hear how you guys are doing and what you're doing to stay safe and how you're coping with everything, because I've been finding that my coping mechanisms are shot. I've said this a couple different times, but I'm starting to get better. I'm starting to be a little bit better about what I do, and especially right now with the fact that I'm going to be saving a lot of money for different stuff. I think that I'm going to try to, I'm basically through that, will be rewiring my brain in a sort that might help with my coping mechanisms and help me get back to a more stable mental state. But if you guys also haven't already and you'd like to be, hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock, and I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys.